welcome to Voidcast, your favourite podcast about Anglicanism.
Literally. We should have like a weekly Anglican segment.
Yeah, we sort of do
week,
already.
Yeah.
But they keep doing shit.
I keep going.
There's always some nonsense happening from the Church of England.
Yeah, they're always up to something. I did think it was funny we released an episode which was like very Anglican heavy.
Yeah.
And then the graffiti came out and then we had some buzz on Twitter from it.
Vindicated.
Yeah, vindicated within one day of release. Canterbury Cathedral, I went there last year for the first time and I think we went in right at the end of the service and the woman that's now the Dean of Canterbury, or the Archbishop, the new one. It was like all the women there were like that as well. It was like the same, like we spoke about last time, the same physiognomy.
Yeah.
That's all my experience. It's such a beautiful church as well.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
It's amazing.
I've only been there once, but it just made me really sad because, from the train, it just dominates the entire city, and then you get up close and you can't even see it. You can't even walk into the grounds because it's just these locked gates, and then you have to go through the gift shop and pay I think £22 or something.
Yeah.
And I went down the street to the Catholic church where they actually have Thomas Becket's relics, and that was really lovely.
Right.
But then within the cathedral, it's you're always being hurried around. But the crypt there is so beautiful. I think seeing those photos of the crypt did upset me because it's one of the oldest cathedral crypts. It's this amazing Romanesque space. The carvings are so gorgeous.
Did they put the graffiti in the crypt?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's where the shrine of Thomas Becket used to be.
Yeah.
Before the Reformation.
Yeah, I mean, again, it wasn't when I saw the pictures, I was not shocked because that's where things
I think
are
this
heading,
is just a particularly egregious example.
It's so bad. It looks so bad. So ugly.
But yeah, when I worked for the Church of England, there was so much of this stuff, and it was part of my job was encouraging churches to find new uses for their spaces that would attract new diverse congregations, and there's just this attitude that the buildings themselves or the architecture or any of the content of the faith and its traditions can't appeal to anyone, can't attract people. There's no belief that God could actually work through those things, that you have to catch up with culture. And I was I went back and read some of the stuff from my old job, and it was just explicitly the church has withdrawn from culture historically, and it's isolated itself within these high walls, and if it's going to flourish, it needs to catch up with what the Holy Spirit is doing in the world.
Which is graffitiing.
The
Holy Spirit's out there doing graffiti on streets.
But also the fact that appeals to no one, right? It's it's a boomer's idea of what would appeal to the urban youth.
She's how'd you do, fellow kids?
Yeah.
Even the graffiti is the style is very naughties.
It's literally it's a font. It's not even drawn. It's not even hand done. It's just in a font. Yeah.
And then it's I didn't realize, I barely read what it actually said, but it's meant to be questions, right, that people have for God.
Yeah. So it was workshopped with a focus group of queer, disabled Punjabi people. Not even joking. That's what it says. And the prompt was what would you ask God? So it's all their questions. And then the Dean of Canterbury had a little response to it being I just really appreciate the candor and honesty, which is more than I bring to prayer.
Oh, shit.
It's okay. So why would anyone go to you for spiritual guidance?
Oh, why would you say that? Yeah.
If you're saying you don't even ask God questions, never mind have answers to them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that was it was a weird installation, and when I go to church, I think sometimes you have these questions for God, and then you go into church and you feel everything's kind of answered. Yeah. There's this feeling of
that's
peace.
the point, right?
And instead it's what were some of the questions? They were
like there's one that's like, is sickness sin? There's like, have you abandoned us?
Where are you?
Why do you allow suffering? But like those are like, some of those are theological questions, but we have answers to them.
Right.
Like, you know, just like last week, the Church of England was being like, oh, we're like 1400 years old. Mm-hmm. Surely in that time you have some theologians who've answered those questions and might be able to give you some resources that you could communicate to the faithful.
No.
But there's just this complete unwillingness to teach, like this complete lack of confidence, and I think lack of belief. Like lots of these senior Anglicans really don't believe in God.
Yeah.
Never mind think that they have the authority to teach people about him.
Yeah, I wonder how many of them relate to those questions. Like they're like seeing the graffiti and they're like, yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm gonna put that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the silent disco thing that was happening. I had a massive argument with an evangelical, a very smart person otherwise, but he's an evangelical Christian, and he said it was a way of evangelizing. It was a way of like bringing people into the church that would otherwise never come in. And we had this argument because he was like, well, are you okay with like classical music being played, like a classical music concert in church? And I mean, I kind of like contrarianly was like, well, technically no, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, the church I worked for, that's all it did. It was basically a concert venue, and it had great music programming, and everyone's like, oh, that's an amazing church. I've been there for a concert. Yeah. But like they have one mass a week, or maybe one midweek one, not even a mass, like a Eucharist.
So I did say that. I was like, yeah, even that is kind of wrong. Like the music should be within the context. But he was like, it brings people in. And it was kind of, when I was an atheist, I would go into churches for different things, like an event or an exhibition or whatever. And there was an element of like, maybe something that does happen in your head where you're like in a church and you feel peace and calm and you feel like maybe there's something to it. But I don't see how graffiti, it's so disgusting.
And it's also,
so nasty.
Like, to even get there to look at that graffiti, you have to pay the entrance fee. Like, it's not like you're getting random people coming in off the street being like, oh, this appeals to me because of my marginalized background. It's like those people are not coming in to begin with because you've shuttered up your churches and, like, you've turned it into a tourist attraction so people can come and gawp at the graffiti and be like, wow, this is so, like, woke and, like, feel really pleased with themselves.
I do love the idea, even if it was free, for someone to be like walking past the church and then they're like, do you want to come in?
I feel really alienated by all this beautiful architecture.
And then they're sort of like, do you want to come in? And they're like, no. And they're like, but there's the graffiti in there. Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like, this is a safe space for me now.
I didn't know that. I'll come in now. Such a stupid idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, so much of this is just down to like the central church strategy, which is like so managerial and so corporate. So there's this like vision and strategy plan for the 2020s where the slogan is like simpler, humbler, bolder. So like in my job, our slogan was humbler church, bigger God. And, it was like lowercase church. So that was like on banners for like all our events and stuff. And yeah, so every project that tries to get funding through like the Strategic Development Fund, which is already like this really complicated process, like they have to fit into this like vision and strategy like idea, and they have to meet all these different criteria. And like one of them is youth and diversity. One of them is mixed ecology, which means fucking nothing. And the other one, what's the other one?
Mission?
Yeah, mission
disciples.
Yeah, missionary discipleship or something. There's a whole thing about like making new disciples. And there was a report in 2022 about the Strategic Development Fund and like whether it had met its goals. And they didn't really include any data on the projects they'd funded or whether any of them had succeeded. But they did say that they'd aimed to make, I think, 87,000 disciples over the 7-year period, and they'd made like 12,000. But I mean, even to think of like people converting to Christianity in that way as like, you know, statistics and like we've made disciples, we've discipled people, because they use it as a verb.
Quarter one for disciples was really bad. Can we up our numbers?
Obviously,
Q2?
that's not going to work, and you have evidence that it doesn't work, which you're not like even releasing to the public. But they're just so like stubborn and committed to this dismantling, this willing dismantling of the Church of England.
Yeah.
And part of that means like neglecting all of the resources which actually do appeal to people, because like cathedral services have been increasing in attendance. Like that's the only part of the Church of England that actually brings people in, because people want evensong and they want the choral tradition and like the beauty, and like they're just constantly like stamping that down. It's like they're actively trying to kill it.
That's like my theory, is that they actually do just want to destroy it. It's like the purpose of a system is what it does, you know. Because I think maybe because you were in it, so you saw the incompetence.
It's not just incompetence, it is like lack of faith. Like the people I was working with did not believe in God. They believed in themselves and in like, you know, furthering their own careers.
Yeah, I mean, that infographic you showed me, it was like, this is the most corporate, like, this is not
And my entire job was like, it was like that, you know, steering committees, it was like project meetings, like so many meetings about the same stuff where we never actually agreed to do anything. Yeah. But it was just about like putting reports together to send to the central church to like get more funding. And yeah, I think it was actually quite nice to revisit that stuff, because I kind of felt like I'd been too emotional in leaving, but then I read about like all the other people who'd left like the same jobs, and like now the whole project is totally like kaput. And I think my disillusionment like actually makes sense. Yeah. And it's actually kind of good that I like went into that, because I'm not sure if I would have made the leap to Catholicism otherwise, but I did go into like the most woke, like most like corporate church in London. And yeah, it's bad.
Well, it's like when I converted, I was really, when I had my religious experience, I was really, really reluctant to go into Catholicism, because I was like, it's like my country's church, and I had like lots of like baggage around it. And then I went into a service. I went to like a happy clappy Protestant like cult of priests service, and then I went to a Baptist service, and then I went to an Anglican one. And they were all just like bad. Like everyone was so terrible. And it was like, you just literally have to get to it for like the process of elimination. Because because I get the reluctance, you know, the Catholic Church has its own barriers, but you literally have to be in like the belly of the beast. I mean, I do actually have a lot more respect for like conservative evangelicals since I converted, because they actually believe something and they live according to their beliefs. Yeah. And I mean, Anglo-Catholics also sometimes believe things less, maybe, but some of them. I don't really get Anglo-Catholic. Like, is it just the high church, right? It's the high church. Yeah. Just be careful.
It's just it's difficult, because it's like my theology was quite Catholic, like in terms of like the sacraments and like Mary and saints and stuff, but you can't really have a Catholic theology while rejecting the meaning of Catholicity, which is the universal church. It just doesn't really fit together. But yeah, I mean, the broad church is definitely the worst, because they really just don't believe anything. Like they're just a civic, like community center, basically, with a lot of clout and like nice robes and titles.
They don't even have that youth. I walked past Holy Trinity Brompton on the way to Brompton.
So that's the one that's growing, and that's really successful.
Yeah,
so,
it looks really busy.
They get like 12% of this funding from the central church, because they are successful. Like they do all the church planting, they work. But like the thing I was working in was basically an attempt to recreate that for the broad church, and it just didn't work. Like, because nobody wants that. And also, like, when you try and describe the broad church, it's like there aren't really common beliefs. Like there's like you can describe Anglo-Catholicism, you can describe evangelicalism, you can kind of sell it to people, and then you try to describe the broad church, and you have to come up with some like corporate like, you know, 5 points or 4 points to like try and make a case for it.
Yeah.
And then you end up saying like, oh, you know, it's like, it's an important spiritual space within society. And it's like, we give people space to engage with questions, and like we have sort of we have a moral like role, but you don't use the moral role. The moral role doesn't have any content. You're just like a placeholder for a morality that like you no longer believe in.
Yeah.
I get really
it's just
worked up talking about this.
It is. I mean, it's just it's one arm of the state, and the whole state is like ridiculous. And it's just because I think because it's Christian, so we get more riled up about it. But it is just the same thing everywhere. Like,
but I mean, Canterbury Cathedral is like it's the earliest cathedral. Like, it's the seat of English Christianity.
Yeah, I was really pissed off with Canterbury in general because like it was so like you couldn't go into the cathedral. You couldn't go. What is it? St. Augustine's Abbey?
Yeah.
I couldn't go into that. Like, it was closed. It was like a really random time that it was closed. So like she had to like look through the fence. I literally couldn't come into the sacred grounds. And then the city itself is like all bubble tea shops and international student.
Yeah.
Like,
so weird.
It's just turned it to. Yeah, I think it's like turned it to something like touristy. It's not really a place as it was, and it was very upsetting being there in general, I think.
Yeah, because the cathedral is just naturally the center of the whole place. Like, the whole place is built around the cathedral.
Yeah, most cities are like most.
Yeah,
and it's just very sad. It's very sad, but
yeah,
it keeps going. I mean, maybe there'll be a schism now because of aren't the African congregations meeting?
Yeah, GAFCON are really mad. Although more because of her liberal beliefs than her being a woman.
Oh, really?
Actually,
okay.
They've kind of softened on the women question.
Well, they would have had to soften up on a lot of things anyway, right? Like the gay.
Well,
stuff.
it's the gay thing that's the main thing.
Oh,
it's because she's like been part of Living in Love and Faith, which is the Church of England's listening process for whether to introduce gay marriage. I just get like such trauma flashbacks whenever I talk about this.
It's just you like in a bunch of African priests. Why are you gay? Why are you Anglican? Gay? Why are you Anglican? That's so true. That's literally how I feel when I meet Anglicans. I'm like, why are you You are Anglican.
Yeah. You're Anglican?
You're Anglican. Yeah, let's hope the boys give them hell.
Yeah.
Because aren't they like the majority of like the Anglican membership?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I feel like they're gonna schism. But I mean, someone did tell me that he doesn't think this archbishop is actually gonna make it to enthronement. So we will see.
Because yeah.
Some exclusive Voidcast gossip.
Yeah.
Some
gossip we do.
Ecclesiastical gossip.
Someone might not make it into office.
I've been doing my family history a bit.
Nice, yeah. So
Oh, I did that thing yesterday where I like plugged my genetic data into like Prometheus, however you say it, and it tells you like which genetic diseases and stuff you have.
Yeah.
Which was cool because I was in a spiral where I was like, I think I have a brain tumor or some sort of congenital like malformation of my skull.
Just like the comments about your forehead.
I was looking up like forehead shaving and stuff.
Facial feminization surgery.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe I have like a gene.
The forehead gene.
The forehead gene. But I don't have any genetic diseases, which is nice. But I do have the warrior gene, which I've seen on Twitter because people are always being like, black men have the warrior gene in like much higher numbers.
I've always thought that about you. I've always looked at you and I've been like, what a powerful black man you are. very striking similarity.
But like when I was going through my family history, like so many of my ancestors on both sides had been like, you know, arraigned in court for like larceny or burglary. One of them was sentenced to death for burglary. One of them got imprisoned in Somerset for 3 months.
And that's in Somerset. They would.
I mean, it's probably just like scrumping apples, realistically. Like, what are you going to steal in Somerset?
Yeah.
Oh no, one of them stole white lime and got deported.
To where?
Australia.
Oh, okay. So my husband was telling me that apparently Australia, after they lost the American colonies, the British Empire wanted to colonize Australia, and apparently, you know, the whole thing of like the prisoners were, the prisoners colonized Australia.
Yeah.
Like it was all like criminals. Apparently, what they did was because they needed colonists to go there, they lowered the bar for crime. So it was like literally like if you stole like a loaf of bread or things like that, they'd be like, you can either have like 20 years in prison or you can go to Australia.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of a manufactured law thing.
Yeah, but you're still stealing a loaf of bread. Like, not everyone steals a loaf of bread.
Everyone steals a loaf of bread. Are you kidding me?
I don't steal. I've never, well, that's not true. I have barely ever stolen anything.
Can I go on the record? I once stole a Christmas ham from M&S, and that was...
For fuck's sake. How?
Self-check.
Oh my, like one of my friends, like whenever I would go to a shop with her, she would just like steal everything every single time.
It's really easy. I used to do it with makeup because I got really pissed off. I was like, women shouldn't have to buy makeup.
I've never done this.
Statement. It's really easy. I can't believe because you're like such a forager. I don't know.
But that's free. That's legal.
Some things should be free, like eyeliner and mascara.
But I do have the warrior response when I'm physically threatened.
That's fair.
Like I do fight.
Yeah.
I have the fighting spirit. Mm-hmm. So that would check out because that's what that gene does.
Well, there was a picture of a lady when you sent me the warrior gene tweet, and she's like, "Ah!" Like, and I was like, I feel like I could see that coming from you at some point.
Thanks. Yeah.
It's like we're both spiritually black, actually. That's why we're friends.
I just got the violent side, and you got the rhythm.
Got the rhythm. Just two crazy white girls with the rhythm and the violence.
Yeah. But apparently it does. It's, if you're a woman, it's not a big a deal. Apparently, it's actually the happiness gene if you're a woman, because I have it on one chromosome but not on the other one. So then it mitigates it. But then if I have a son, then I would pass it down, and then because they don't have the other X chromosome, then it like expresses itself.
Right.
So it's mostly the men who get like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope you never.
Yeah.
Or do have a son. I don't know. Depends how the world is in a few years.
Yeah, but I think it's only bad if you have like a bad childhood.
Sure.
Like, or childhood trauma. Apparently it doesn't actually correlate with poor outcomes unless you're like, you have environmental triggers.
I mean, it makes, it sounds like a good gene to have in terms of like having more energy, more vril. More, aggression.
But I also found out I have the gene that makes me process folate at like 10% of other people.
It's crazy that we don't know stuff like that.
I have the really bad one as well. I have the worst one.
Damn.
So I'm actually really happy that I found like the vitamin that explains everything.
Are you gonna just mega dose it now?
Yeah, I've ordered so many.
Nice.
So many new supplements.
I ordered the vitamin B thing that Zara spoke about.
Yeah, me too.
Even though it was really expensive, but I was like, I'm really stupid.
But then Kirby was telling me all this other stuff about how you need a different type of... You need folinic acid, which is the one that RFK Jr. was talking about.
Nice.
But I can't find it because it's sold out because of everyone trying to cure autism.
The autism epidemic strikes again.
But it's crazy. I've just been like massively deficient in like key vitamins all my life.
Folate is a big one as well for women.
Yeah, and I always have folate deficient, like folic deficiency anemia or whatever.
Yeah, that's not like not iron, but it's iron. Yeah,
it's like another kind of anemia. And then they were like, "Oh, it's just because your periods are heavy." But you know, if they'd just tested this, they could have told me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of why I did my genetics test, because I don't know my father's side, and I just wanted to know about like.
Right.
I was gonna check about. I'm spiritually.
You like fatherless.
But I didn't have anything come up either, other than a potential thing towards type 2 diabetes, which I was like, yep, I can see that one. But then, yeah, I think that's also why puking is an interesting thing.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe not for some people. But I feel like that's like all Eastern Europeans. It's like you just get to an age and you're just like, you just sort of fell out a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, all my family is pretty fat on the Welsh side. But I have the gene that makes you have a smaller stomach and get full faster. I know.
What is this supposed to be?
The skinny gene.
I need to skinny gene. We're gonna like genetically engineer people in the future to have a skinny gene. Yeah, I don't know about the genetic stuff. I feel like, you do think you're predisposed to, I don't know, to violence, to being the way that you are.
Well,
like,
apparently it's really linked with ADHD.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It does make sense. It makes sense because I'm very impulsive and like reactive. But it's okay. I'm going to manage it.
Yeah. Well, it's hot. Like the thing you tweeted about like social mobility, and it's like being a certain way.
Yeah.
And then having to live in.
Yeah. Because if you go to the valleys, like there just is a lot of violence, like just like low key, like it's just tolerated. Like just people get into fights quite a lot.
Yeah. And
you don't get arrested for it or anything.
Oh yeah, because the police are also
all
got the warrior genes.
Like I was talking to my mum about like a party she went to, and she was telling me this guy pissed her off, so she just slapped him. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's just in my blood, clearly.
That's fine. It's crazy. You can technically like, if someone slaps you, if you slap someone, they can like prosecute you. I feel like there should be a level of violence that should be allowed.
Yeah.
Like technically, your mum slapped someone, he could.
Yeah, it's a way of working out disputes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sometimes like a small.
But the
level.
Anglo mind can't conceive of this.
They can't.
They're obsessed with law.
They're obsessed with the rule of law and tolerance.
Yeah.
And respect. It's disgusting. Yeah, I feel like even
we should have some like blood feud. There should be tolerance for that.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of.
Yeah.
I guess they had the blood feud. I mean, Ireland. Was that a blood? What's a blood feud compared to a normal feud? Just a regular feud.
Blood feud is where you kill someone in revenge, and then you keep killing each other. Like you kill another member of the family to make up for it. But in like early medieval times, this was a way of actually establishing peace. Because then you wouldn't have ongoing violence. Like you would settle it. You would resolve the blood feud.
But how would you, if it just keeps going?
But it's like eye for an eye, and then you're like, okay, fine, fair enough.
But when do you draw the line? Yeah, okay, but where do you draw the line? Because you just said you just keep going until both families are wiped out.
No, because there's an understanding. It's like if you kill someone, it's like okay, you have to like they've got to kill one of yours now.
But I heard from The Sopranos. I read on The Sopranos that if you kill a family member...
Ethnography of The Sopranos.
Yeah, the ethnography. And then they kill your family member, that actually then you will end up doing again a killing...
That is the problem with the blood feud, yeah. That's traditionally the problem.
I feel like that might be why
That's
law
why we
started.
moved on, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, there are some anthropological studies. Like there's one called like the Peace in the Feud, which is really famous about how it was actually a way of kind of maintaining order without a state. And there were all these rules that people sort of recognized around it, and they were kind of like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, now we have law.
The Anglo law. Yeah, I don't know. I think I still struggle with like dealing with some Anglo people on my side with like the politeness. I find
I'm not polite.
Yeah, it's a struggle,
as you know.
But it works because it's like, because I get really pissed off because it's like dishonest.
Yeah, me too. I have like a massive thing about honesty.
Yeah, so it's like you're saying something to me, but then I kind of like it because it's kind of, you know, you're in a shop and you're both like you're trying to squeeze past each other and you're kind of both pissed off with each other, but you're like, oh, sorry. And it's kind of cute. It's nice.
But I have definitely got in trouble because I think like I'm not Anglo, and there is that difference.
Yeah,
like I don't have the same level of tact, and like maybe that's a personal failing. I should have like learned how to do that, but I think it is a big cultural difference. Like in Ireland, people are very, very blunt, right? They're like really sharp.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a joke and it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
And same in Scotland.
Same, yeah.
I think less in Wales, but it's still like, it's a much more blunt culture than England.
I think it's again that thing of like every other country, you know, like every ethnicity is like, love food, love my family. It's like also every country is kind of, other than like the Japanese, I think, and maybe a bit of China.
Well, that's
like,
why Anglos love the Japanese so much, because it's like honor culture and it's like Anglo on steroids.
They're very like aligned in many ways.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I think I thought I was like this eccentric person for like the longest time when I moved here, just like uniquely weird. And then I like went back to my country a few years ago and like everyone's the same. Like they're like really rude and like stone faced, but they're like nice to you.
Yeah.
But they're blunt about it. Yeah. And I really liked it. And I was like, this is like way more of an honest way of relating to each other.
Yeah. And I do think there's a real like there's something true about like how you won't ever fit in if you're not Anglo, and especially if you're not in those classes, I guess, because I've had, I guess, like some social mobility, even though like economically it hasn't really filtered through, but like I'm around lots of very well brought up, like very proper English people who belong to this class where they've been raised by parents in the same profession as them, or you know, in adjacent professions, and they know all those codes really well, and I always will be an outsider to that. Yeah, and even just keeping up to their codes kind of tires you out. Like I just don't care anymore. Yeah. I think it's the jester thing, though. That is the flip side of it. You get the jester privilege. I love jester privilege. And they do like having a jester around. They do. I fit into a lot of, like, that SpongeBob meme that's like, if you're real, I'm going to chop it up with you. Like, I don't care who you are. I feel like that's how I get into most places. Just like a little clown walking around. Yeah. But it does, like, especially to be fair, if you are a clown, you will... literally by nature of that role, you will never be part of their in-group. But that's also quite a traditional like role within the Anglo elite, like Nell Gwyn, you know, like was she the mistress of Charles I or Charles II? Or if I was going to kill me for not remembering that. Sounds like it. She was like an orange wench. How orange are we talking? She would like sell oranges in the theatre, and then she was on the stage, but she had a good sense of humor, and she was always drunk, and she was Welsh. Nice. Probably. Nice. So they have always kept these people around, and then like she negotiated her way into getting this like mansion on like Pall Mall, and like it's still one of the only buildings there that's not owned by the crown because she made the king give it to her. Damn. Because she was his mistress. I mean, that's the ideal arrangement. Because the thing is with these like class, like that type of Anglos, that you don't really want to hang out with them in that way. It's like you don't really want to be part of that class. You just want like the benefits of being around them. So like a mansion seems... I like them. Yeah, but I feel like
I get to, I don't know, I guess to the point. Like, this is tiring.
Yeah,
it's like
I've always gone for like posh boys though.
Yeah, they are attractive, but
I think like everyone I've dated has been like privately educated and like Oxford.
It's a good move for social mobility as well, like as well as attraction.
Yeah, but they don't actually want to settle down with someone like you then. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing, they kind of eventually they settle down with like someone exactly from their class.
Yeah, and I think like, you know, that class loyalty is still really strong in the UK. It's like in America you can like move up into the upper class. You can be like an actress or something and marry someone wealthy. But in England,
well, like you know, Candace Owens, who she married, is insane. Like I don't understand that pairing at all.
you know, they're into like some freaky shit.
I mean, they got married after like 2 weeks of knowing each other as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they like met and then
she got that bag.
She got that bag like crazy. But I think now she's in her own bag. Like she's got her own. But yeah, sometimes like I sometimes have, because like my husband's kind of old English, and then like the way we deal with disagreements or problems is like he'll be like really tactful and say something like that doesn't I don't compute, because I'm like, I'm not seeing the angry facial expression or like so I'm like, huh, and then like I just start yelling, and then
it's so crazy when they do that. Like I don't understand it.
I'm like, what? Speak up. Why aren't you yelling? What's going on? But yeah, I think because when we went to America, I think he liked it. But he didn't have as much of a like enlightened, and like I love it way more than he does, and I think he still has a lot of
why do you love it?
I just like, before we went, I was like, I know that it's the center of the world. Like I do get that. Just like you can like logically, obviously, it's like the center of power in all the ways.
So you want power?
Yeah, well, I mean, even part of living in London is like, it's the only place in probably Europe that matters. You know, culturally, financially, power-wise, it's the most powerful city in Europe. Where else? But this is the thing. Where else? Like Paris?
Rome.
What? You're kidding me? Rome?
It's the kind of power that matters.
A bunch of guys selling t-shirts.
Actually, it's where the Pope lives.
Yeah, but he's global. He can do his own thing. He doesn't need. It's not like people go to Rome in order to be by the Vatican, like to be.
I do.
Move to Rome. It's actually so shit there.
It's amazing. What are you talking about? It's like the best city in the world.
Yeah, but in the same way, it's like you go to Athens and you're like, oh, a great civilization was here.
No, it's amazing. It's like, it's so beautiful. It's like astonishingly beautiful, and the food is good, and everything is lovely.
It's not. Are you kidding?
I love Rome.
It's a bunch of guys just like selling knockoff Gucci bags on the street. To be fair, they do that now on like London Bridge, or what's the actual bridge? Tower Bridge.
But sure, they also do that in New York.
Well, this was the thing. We went to like so many tourist spots, and we thought they'd be like that, like grim. We went on Brooklyn Bridge, and it was like cleared out completely. There was no
but if you go to Times
sellers.
Square, it's like a nightmare.
I actually even liked Times Square.
What?
I couldn't. I liked every single bit. I think just being in New York, like we were walking through the financial district, and it's like all these like the buildings have this like old Roman, like borderline fascistic like design, like that sort of like Art Deco is like very like but not just that, like it was very like strict like lines, like very sort of and the sort of the size of the buildings is very overwhelming. You feel like you're really just overwhelmed with power, like pure power.
Okay, Grimes.
Yeah, and it felt like, I think coming back, and even before we went, I was sort of, like the people there were friendlier. I felt like everyone was there for a purpose. The other thing was I thought, even though it's like it's very multicultural, it felt like everyone was an American. Like there were like different races, but it felt like actually like the multicultural dream or whatever actually seemed a bit more realized than it is here. Because like all the communities here are so cloistered and like they don't even speak the same language. Like everyone there was like, I'm Latino, I'm black, or whatever, but I'm like, I speak English. I'm a New Yorker. I'm an American, you know? And I felt really like woke. I was like, we can do this. We can do a multicultural society.
I mean, I like the idea of it, but whenever I have to spend time with any Americans, We pause?
Is this a fire alarm?
So there was a fire.
Yeah, there was a whole fire. God doesn't want us to record
the
podcast.
That was like a providential sign.
It felt like it. It's never happened before in the years
like
of living
4
here.
fire engines.
Yeah, for apparently one toaster that went off. We were saying the firemen are very tall and very hot.
Yeah, them strapping young men outside.
Yeah. And then you were like, they should be
they should be small.
They should be tiny, tiny men.
Because they're going to like walk right into all the smoke. Because it's going to collect around the ceiling. So you should really have like little tiny firemen.
Little dwarves. You could lead them. You could be there.
Yeah.
Rose in the sun.
I'd be so good
fireman.
at that.
Yeah.
I think I'd really enjoy all the adrenaline.
I think it's a good job. It's like you just sit around for no reason and then
I'd probably get loads of hate though, because they'd be like, you can't be a woman firefighter, firewoman.
But then you'd have a profile of you in like The Guardian. You'd be like in your uniform with your arms crossed. Your helmet.
Yeah. I could just get like really jacked.
Just a tiny jacked woman. No one wants that.
So we're going to talk about Albion Seed.
And the woke counterpart American nations.
Okay.
But yeah, because this is one from my side because I was obsessed with America.
Yeah.
And
why did you want me to read this book particularly?
My friend told me about it and I thought it was the craziest thing I'd heard. Like, because I think you think of America as just like this one kind of, it's like a vast empire, like continent, but you kind of think of one culture in it. Well, I did, at least.
But it's like a melting pot.
Yeah, but then I guess I never thought of like melting pot of what. Like I didn't know anything about like the early process, you know, like I knew about when they came to the New World. I knew like a little bit about that, but I didn't know about like the different settler and how they interacted with each other, basically.
So it's just you finding a new period of history and being like, wow, that's crazy. Can't believe they did that.
Have you ever watched Fresh Meat?
I think so, yeah.
There's like a character in it called Vod, and she like reads a book for the first time, and then like her piece on the book is just like, I read this book and it was really great, and I read the whole thing and it was amazing.
Reading books is amazing. I was actually thinking
me. I was like, whoa.
I was thinking that earlier because it's like I never sit down and like read a whole history book anymore.
Yeah.
So.
I can't believe you read. It's 1,000 pages. And you read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm not going to read it, so you read it, and I'll read the shorter, more woke version.
Yeah, but I have like history degree brain, so like I just read like the introduction and then like the first chapter, and then I skim and like kind of get what I want from it.
Okay.
And then I read the last bit.
Well, I'm glad, because I feel like I'm just going to listen to you talk about Albion Seed, so I don't have to read it. And then I'll tell you a bit about what I read. But yeah, I think my main thing, like after coming back from America, was that I thought it made me patriotic for British people. Because when we went, I was like, British people did all of this. This is amazing. But it made me less patriotic for Britain and the British people that have stayed.
Because you're like, we lost all our best people.
Basically, that's my theory. My working theory is that all the best British people left.
I don't think that's true, because we had our best, like most successful centuries after the founding of America. And the people who left were like freaks. They were like religious extremists.
As I found out reading. Yeah. They were, but the freaks kind of won. Like, America won. Yeah. In the end. Yeah. And we can talk about how it won.
Yeah.
But
so the claim of the book is that America, like, was basically founded on these 4 waves of migration, which were all English. And it tries to claim that the culture sort of froze in time at the point that they migrated. So they brought the culture that they had, and then it sort of stayed like that and continues to influence America today. And it's kind of interesting as like a work of cultural history. Like he talks about how it's returning to like the Teutonic germ theory of cultural history, as opposed to like different models which talk about like waves of migration and like melting pot and stuff. So it's arguing that like like America's culture today and its institutions are the way they are because of the sort of founding stock and the founding culture. And
you do see it. So in American Nation, so Colin Woodard wrote it after, and I think he does reference Albion Seed, but he adds more ethnic groups. So he adds like the Spanish, El Norte, which is like just above Mexico, into California, into Texas a little bit. So there's that. And then there's New France in Louisiana, a little bit. And then he talks about this. He makes a distinction between the Deep South and the Tidewater, which is from Albion Seed.
Yeah.
So the Deep South had a different. They came from Barbados. They didn't come from England. They weren't this like funny aristocratic class from England. And then he talks about like the far west as being this like kind of in between land. And this, I think he was quite good in, even though he's definitely more left wing, he didn't make that weird argument that they make about geography. You know, where they say like the geography is what made us great. I was at a Democrat fundraiser and I was speaking to this woman about how I loved America, and she was like, well, you know, it's a great continent because, you know, all you have to do is just come here and survive and you'll thrive because we have so many resources. And it's like neither Colin nor I think
Albion Seed is basically arguing against the idea that like American liberty came from like a frontier spirit or from an interaction with the particular like geography and landscape. He says it was like a continuation of like Anglo-Saxon liberty, which is exactly what the founding fathers thought. Like Thomas Jefferson had a whole thing about like throwing off the Norman yoke and like returning to these like old Anglo-Saxon kind of freedoms, which was an idea that emerged during the English Civil War, which is it's interesting. It's not really legitimate, like, but I think his claim that it sort of continued from that founding stock, it just neglects like the intellectual history side and the amount of like deliberate construction of that. Like the fact that the founding fathers had that idea of what England was, like what Anglo-Saxon liberty was, and like enshrined that in their constitution and really created it for the first time based on this historical myth. But that was something which emerged like in their like political environment. You know, there's a reason why that didn't like become embedded in British politics, because of like the intellectual like sphere, the intellectual like the ideology they had, which they like which then like influenced the constitution and everything. I don't think that is like, as he's claiming, like a sort of innate biological thing about the English, that they remembered this old liberty or something. They had this innate Teutonic liberty.
I didn't know that's what he argued, because I thought the whole point was that it was like these four very different groups.
Yeah, but he talks about these four different types of liberty.
Right. Yeah. And then, I think I like read some summary of the Tidewater conception of liberty, and I was like, I don't think so. Like, it doesn't seem to tie into like everyone had their concept of liberty, and it's like they didn't. I
think there were different ideas, like the Jeffersonian idea, which was, you know, very contemporary in the South. It was very different to like the Northern like Federalist idea of like what he calls like ordered liberty, which is liberty like enshrined in institutions
of a common good.
Yeah. It's more of that like it's less libertarian, I guess. And I think that's true, but I think that emerges in the South. Like, that's like the kind of culture that they create. And he really neglects the whole like country court division stuff, which was going on in England and kind of reflected in America. And the like, the political theory that was developing in America. It's this weird, like, grassroots idea, like that this stuff just like emerged because of the normal people, because of the founding people, rather than it being constructed by an elite. And I think that's often true with cultural history. I mean, especially this when he's talking about like religion and like marriage and like conceptions of time and the kind of institutions they create locally. That's really interesting. And I think that does have a lot to do with these different regions they're coming from in Britain. But at the highest political level, I don't think that's true, because he makes the argument that like populism and progressivism both have their roots in these different ideas of liberty.
Right.
In like this like Puritan ordered liberty versus this
Appalachian. Is that Appalachian populism?
I think he's talking more about like the Cavalier stuff in the South. But yeah.
Did he have anything in Colin Woodard's book? He had like New York was like, New Amsterdam.
No,
like,
there's basically nothing about New York.
That's what it was crazy to me, because that was like, I thought that was the biggest. Like, New York is that is the most important city.
But he's making an argument about English supremacy, basically, that England was the most important influence on the American political cultural traditions. But he's also like neglecting, or kind of erasing the groups that weren't English, like the other British groups, which he sort of, like when he's talking about the people from like the Anglo-Scots border and from Northern Ireland, he's talking about them as if they're just English, and sort of contrasting the Scots with like the Highland Scots and suggesting that they're like different, like entirely different ethnic groups with different, like the lowland Scots are still basically Anglo-Saxon, and I don't think that's the case.
No.
And also when he's going through all the presidents and like tracing their descent back to these initial groups, it's like a lot of those presidents were Welsh. I mean, obviously I have a bias here, but like John Adams.
You're Welsh.
Like John Adams is Welsh. I think Thomas Jefferson was Welsh as well, and he just like completely ignores that.
Yeah.
Because there were people like John Adams was from Massachusetts, but there were people in those groups that don't track with his argument, because he's arguing that they all came from like East Anglia, and East Anglia had these particular religious traditions, this Puritanism, this kind of rebellious spirit, which is true. And East Anglia is really distinct, but they weren't all from there, and there were like lots of other people who then adopted those cultures. Yes,
that's the main thing that like struck me with that. I think it's really interesting how like America literally was like, if you have this idea or you want to live this way, you can come here. And like the Puritans and the Midlands as well,
exactly.
like they had. Like, even though it was like Quaker founded, they then had a bunch of like German Protestants come in, and they like they just were like symbiotic. And then when they had some people, they had like some Catholics come over, that didn't like really work out.
That chapter is shorter, and it's just a lot less convincing because of that.
I read a critique that was like, because he talks about the border. Did we talk about the 4 different types?
Yeah. So it's like the Massachusetts Puritans, and then it's like the Virginia Cavalier, like Royalists. Then it's the Quakers in the Midlands who go to Pennsylvania. Yeah. Also, Pennsylvania had a Welsh-speaking area. They had a whole part of Pennsylvania that spoke Welsh. Anyway, whatever. Welsh Quakers. And then who are the other ones? I lost my train of thought.
Appalachians.
So the
Scots-Irish.
The violent. Bloody border.
So that was the critique I read, that was like, he talks about them as like they're just borderlanders, so because they were in the north of England on the border, and they were just like very independent, they didn't want any like government control, and the critique of it was like actually just had a lot of Scottish, like proper Scottish influence on the region, which had its own like system of like politics and had its own ways of thinking, and it's just kind of ignored like that Scots-Irish thing. So that was like the main critique I read. And I think I preferred Colin Woodard's book because it obviously like builds on it, and it like adds things to it. And I think he talks more about the relationship people had with the Indians and the slaves.
There's nothing about that. You do get the sense that he's trying to make his evidence fit into these nice categories that he's invented. And he says at one point that the historian always has the impulse to like generate theories to be a sociologist, and I think that. That's something you fall prey to, especially in cultural history.
Yeah, I think like the American Nations book, he kind of has that to an extent with like the melting pot and the clash of cultures, and he wants to sort of talk about how America's this sort of actually the ideas like clashed and like built upon each other. The bit that I thought was really interesting was he talks about the left coast, which is like California, San Francisco, like that sort of important bit now.
Yeah.
And he said that was an interesting dynamic where you had like the Spanish, like El Norte. So had that sort of Catholic influence. But as you go up more north, because it was quite a weak empire, they didn't have the resource to sort of like really build a strong colony. And then you had a bunch of New Englanders come over to do some fur trading, because it was like still mostly wild, and they're just doing some like commerce stuff as they do. So they came over and then populated it there. And then you had the Appalachians, you had the Scots come over, like the farmers. But they obviously had a very different culture from the Puritans. They were much more like individualistic and like a bit more libertarian. And the Puritans were obviously the opposite.
I think that does hold, like the New England Puritans also like a kind of a controversial term. So using that as kind of like he's staking his ground. Like the kind of communities they formed, like the neighborhoods they formed, very tight knit. They're towns. People live very close together. They're very involved in each other's lives. Whereas in the sort of in Appalachia, you have like isolated farmsteads, and people live like 10 miles away from each other. And obviously that does come from the kind of places, their kind of regional origins. And I think, within those like Celtic regions, there's obviously a lot less population density. Like people live very far apart, and that does affect culture a lot, and clearly affected the cultures that emerged there. And it's interesting how that plays into the kind of political institutions they developed, and then the ones that sort of formed these local, like civic institutions, then went on to develop the Constitution, whereas the guys in the mountains, like running around naked with sticks, like gouging each other's eyes out, they didn't have anything to do with the Constitution. So there is obviously something there about like the influence of these like Southern English traditions.
Well, I was like, the bits on the Quakers was really interesting in that they where was the bit?
I don't think the Quakers are as big a deal as he makes them out to be either.
Yeah, well, apparently they just like kind of died out. Like they were so weak because of their ideology. Like so there was like a whole bit where they like couldn't do government properly because they were like busy like fighting each other.
Yeah.
And loads of people just left those communities because they were like trying to be governed, but they couldn't be governed.
But they were very welcoming, right? Whereas the New England Puritans were like explicitly creating a community of the elect. Like they were actively exiling people who didn't meet their like ideal form of conduct, and they were very averse to immigration. So they created this like very exclusive community. Which probably meant that they still have a much bigger influence. That their ideas have like persisted. I
thought it was interesting, the Puritan like interaction with New York and like so it was New Amsterdam, and that was like Dutch. Like you taught me about the Glorious Revolution before the Yavin episode, so I found out about that, and then. So like the Dutch obviously made to New Amsterdam, and it was literally just commerce. Like you just come here for money. Like there's like barely any government. Like the government was around having a company to make money.
Really?
And then the English, I think it was King James, took over New Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And then they tried to put on like all these laws like taxation and tried to like make it sort of allegiant to the English kingdom, and then everyone was really unhappy because they were like capitalists. Like they were like, we have that sort of Dutch freedom of religion, the tolerance that they had back in the Netherlands, and they were really unhappy.
Look how that's gone for them.
Well, it did. I was like, because I was reading about like all these like laws they tried to put on New York, and I was like, oh, who's this King James? And then I was like, oh fuck, that's the guy from the glorious revolution. And then William of Orange, when he came in, they had all these like random revolts. So in New York, they were kind of waiting to see what happened with the invasion in England.
Okay.
But then they thought that, like, because William of Orange was Dutch, that they would give it back to the Netherlands. But because he now was in England, he was the king.
Yeah.
King of England?
Yeah, that's right.
He wanted to, like, appease both sides, so he left it as an English, like, settlement, but with a sort of freedom of religion, the freedom of, like migrants. There were loads of migrants from, like, lots of different places there. So it stayed English, but basically had this Dutch values. So it's crazy that he doesn't talk about it at all in Albion Seas. Like, that it's literally like a Dutch concept of it.
Because you don't get any sense of what's going on around these English colonies.
No.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, and like New York is the most important city. So it's crazy to not add that.
And America today is very Dutch and German in its culture.
Yeah.
Like those cultures had like quite a big influence.
I think. Even in like the Midlands and like where they.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're talking about like this Anglo tradition of liberty, like surely the whole Anglo-Dutch idea of liberty is maybe more influential than, I mean, certainly more influential than a sort of Anglo-Saxon remnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did think it was like both a Quaker side. I thought the Puritan side as well. And then the Appalachian side. There was a sort of an idea of freedom, an idea of freedom of religion, of being able to kind of do what you want, maybe in like different ways. And that was, I don't know if that's an English thing. I feel like it's more Protestant. I feel like it's more. But
then, like the New England Puritans are very against any kind of religious pluralism.
Were they?
Yeah, so they have their own communities.
It's like freedom of their own religion. Right?
Yeah, and they just kick anyone out who doesn't subscribe to those ideas. But I mean, I think that's really interesting because, like, I mean, I know more about that, like the Puritanism in Britain, but you know they were so used to sort of being oppressed, you know, after the Elizabethan settlement and the requirement that everyone conformed to this Anglican norm. Like Puritans would go to those churches, and I think because of the kind of theology they had, because of this specific idea of the elect, like of like limited atonement, they're like sitting next to people who they know are not the elect, and that generates a lot of anxiety. So like there was a guy called like Nehemiah Wallington who wrote this diary, and he's a bit of an outlier, but it's just this constant rumination about whether he is the elect or not, because they have this idea of the perseverance of the saints as well. So it's like, if you are the elect, you're always going to be the elect, but you can't know for sure. And because you're in this English context where everyone's a Christian, but they're not all like your kind of Christian. Stupid. So he tried to kill himself like 13 times.
Oh my god. Was just a test.
Clearly, no, because he's like so depressed about this religious angst. But then obviously in America, in these communities, that like they are all the elect, or they see themselves as a community of the elect.
So convenient.
And they have this massive emphasis on conduct, like, which was a big thing in England, with like conduct manuals being like a big genre, like in like early printed media, like loads and loads of books about like exactly how to behave, like the particular duties of a husband and wife and children, and they would like read them. Like there was a big culture of like reading to the family, because not everyone was literate, but they would like gather around, because the head of the household would usually be able to read, and then they would all kind of learn the stuff. So they were quite educated, and they had a very literate culture, even though they weren't themselves literate. But yeah, and it's only in America really that they get to live that out on a social scale.
It's very cool. It is very, like, you read about all these like crazy religious like movements, and you're like, they literally could just like, they just went across the entire ocean and like I will live in this like not barren, but like at the point not developed land, just to practice in the way that they want to practice. I thought that was like quite.
I like the Anabaptists as well. Obviously there's nothing on them in this book, but
well, I thought it was interesting in general, from the other book, about the sort of a trend of attraction being over time so much more powerful than like mandating like either slavery or mandating people to come over, because like they had so much like pamphleting, they had a lot of like promoting this new society that they were doing, and then the El Norte region was very I'm like, I need to say it
the
properly.
commitment to the accent.
That was like kind of a weird thing where basically the Spanish Empire wanted to evangelize everyone to become a Catholic. So loads of the colonists were mandated to go there. So they weren't actually keen to go, and they had lots of very strict rules about trade with foreign colonies. They basically couldn't do it. And they had a lot of taxation, and it was literally like loads of clergy and farmers going out there to support this effort, rather than like the Puritans or the Quakers like kind of coming over being like, we can live how we want to live, or in the case of New York, we can make the money.
They had such
that we
massive
wanna.
birth rates as well. Like they didn't need to bring anyone else in.
That's true. Well, but which is, I mean, because
they
then
were
you look
having
at the
like 20
slavery.
kids.
Yeah, but like the slavery, the Tidewater thing, and then the Deep South, much more. Because of the slavery situation, obviously people died from being really poorly treated, but also other like middling or lower middle class people didn't want to come over to that society because they didn't have economic like opportunities, and they couldn't live how they wanted to live. So it's like over time, somewhere like New York or New England was much more attractive for people, or the Midlands were more attractive. And the left coast, because of like the gold rush that happened in the 1800s, whereas these societies that seemed more traditional and have like much more historic basis, and like a slave society or an aristocratic society, they're the ones who died out because no one actually wanted to live like that. Like, so it's like the migration thing is like by attraction is so much more powerful than like literally making people, which like kind of makes sense.
I don't know, because I do think his argument about that kind of Puritanism going on to influence like contemporary culture, I think that's true. It's like, you know, if you watch Gilmore Girls and they have the town meetings, like that literally goes back to that time. Like that's the way they organize their communities.
Well, when I was in Connecticut, every house had the new pride flag out. They had the "We believe in science." Like it was still like, I think how he argues about the Puritan
maybe
culture.
the progressivism thing does have like a basis in that, because he says he says it's about it's like about rationality and morality, and like the way they conceive of their society. It's very rule based. And it's very like institutional, like they create all these institutions that people have to be part of, and like have very strong like courts and strong education. So that kind of makes sense that those are like elite liberal, what are they called when you have beliefs that are like
luxury
beliefs,
yeah.
Because that culture has always been about like being seen to be a good person and to be doing the right thing. Like the witchcraft stuff is really interesting, that was the part of America that had witch accusations and executions, because in East Anglia, like that was where by far the most witch hunts were. Like that was like the Witchfinder General. And most of England didn't really have many of those, but the East Anglian culture, like the way the towns were set up, there was a lot of like neighborly policing, you know, people would like tell on each other, and there was a lot of like curtain
English.
twitching.
It's very English.
I mean, Scotland had like way more witch hunts, but they was like super different. They were like very elite. It was like James VI being like witches trying to kill me on my boat. They've summoned a storm, and it was all about like necromancy and infanticide and like this really intense stuff. Whereas in England, it was like, you know, Sarah down the road has like cursed my cow.
Classic. I was gonna joke, like I imagine Scotland is like men on horses and like,
like
but actually, it does sound like that was. It was like, it's so funny.
But also, the Salem witch hunts are really unusual. Like they're kind of anomalous because by that time Europe had stopped doing witch hunts. But if his argument's right that it was sort of a culture like frozen in time, kind of, and preserved through this like very exclusive, like maintenance of the original stock, then it would make sense that they were still doing that like 100 years later.
Yeah. Well, you can see it still like Yeah, in the American Nations book, he argues like you can still see the patterns of the cultures and the way they vote for like political parties, and you've got that Appalachian, you've got the Deep South, and you've got the left, the East and West Coast voting in that way. And if you do look at like America properly, you are like, oh, this is just like different. These are just different fucking countries.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that they have to live together. But yeah, I guess there's like that middle America that kind of envelops everything. There's like a sort of the freedom aspect, I guess, kind of has stayed. Like it does feel like all these groups came over in a way to be free of something back in the old world.
Yeah.
And you still have that sort of the freedom seeking, the freedom prioritizing that we don't really have here. But I mean,
the culture of the Old South is gone.
Yeah, it's just the
Civil War.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I think his argument about culture being sort of frozen, that doesn't really make sense in the Old South context, because slavery was something very new. Like that kind of slavery, like the very racialized slavery, like that wasn't something that existed in England or Europe, really. Yeah,
well, they said that they had indentured servants that were meant to come from, so like the Puritans had a bit, in New York they had a bit of indentured servants.
You have like,
but they could like buy themselves out, they could buy land afterwards. It was like a set time that they were
but he argues that like in areas of Wessex that people came from to Virginia, they had much higher rates of slavery in like the 8th and 9th centuries. So it's as if there's this like biological deep-rooted like genetic instinct towards enslaving people.
Right.
I don't think that holds up. And it's not even that true in an early medieval context.
Yeah, I didn't realize how genetic he makes it.
No, it's very genetic. He says that when he talks about folkways, like the kind of almost like mentalities, but like ways of behaving and stuff. He says that they arise from biological instincts, and people act before they think. So the culture is basically like biologically determined, and then you sort of generate a culture to like justify that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a very different impression I got from, like, to me, like, America was just like, it was a bunch of people who had some ideas, like they had some new ideas.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want to try this out in this continent. Actually, seems actually very different from, I was thinking about like the Quakers and the Puritans, and even like New York and that sort of Dutch idea of like religious tolerance, and basically all those beliefs are like crackpot beliefs, like like they're crazy.
Liberalism.
Like, because even like in New York, it was like this crazy thing of like religious tolerance and capital, like being the primary thing. And then the Puritans, and you have the common good and like that sort of crazy culture they had. Yeah. And then you've got the insane Quaker stuff where they were like about the inner light and all that stuff. And it's these crazy ideas that then like over time actually developed.
Well, that's why they had to move there, because they didn't fit in. Yeah, they were like rejects.
But then it led to, and I thought about Christianity as like in its early form, it was a crackpot idea. Like the idea of like an innocent sacrificial victim, as opposed to like all previous religions, all other religions had a victim that was guilty. Yeah. You had now an innocent victim. You had this thing of raising the leper, raising the poor, like it was all very like crazy at the time. Like Christianity is a very crazy religion if you think about it, in terms of how everything was before. And that over time, I don't know if it's just like the novelty of an idea or the power of, I was like thinking of like clickbait, like even like something being crazy enough that it just like really captivates people and it makes them want to pursue it. And you can't really go back. Like I think it made me realize, I think reading about this stuff, I was like, we can't really go back to how things were, because in some ways like the Tidewater people were very like, we'll do this tradition, it was like sort of aristocratic, like traditional society, and it just died. Like it couldn't.
Well, that's because of the Civil War, though.
But they couldn't live up to, because I mean, the South was like really rich, and that was basically what it was, right? It was like two rich empires going at each other.
They were massively indebted.
To who?
To everyone. To New York banks, to England. Like they just borrowed masses of money to maintain the lifestyle that they wanted.
Really? I thought they were like from the sugar cane stuff and like other stuff, they were just super rich.
Yeah, but I mean, he talks about like a culture of like indebtedness and like a willingness to take on debts, which, you know, they didn't have in Yankee territory.
Right.
And they also didn't have like any kind of glorification of work. Like they didn't have the Protestant work ethic, and they didn't have this kind of theologization of work. In the Puritan territories, it was like, you know, you shouldn't be idle. You should be doing something with your time all the time.
Which is also another new idea. Like, that is a pretty crazy idea if you think about, like, in traditional society, I don't know how much, like, historically this hard work ethic was the basis of a society.
Yeah, sure. But it is very Protestant and Puritan. But then in the South, they have, like, the life of leisure, you know, sort of otium. Like, they value being a gentleman and not having to work. Like, they want money, but they don't want to be seen making money.
Right. And they had apparently, like, very nouveau riche, like, tastes. And they were very, like, flamboyant with their wealth. Apparently they were really, in England, they were really angry about the people in the deep south. So, like, not the Tidewater people, but, like, the guys who came from Barbados. So they, like, settled in the south, and England was really pissed off because they were, like, first of all, like, very arrogant and very, like, flamboyant with their wealth and, like, showing it off.
Okay, they don't go into that in this book.
Yeah, I think this other guy, this woke guy's book is, like, actually more like, more interesting in that way. But apparently they had loads of, like, seats of power in England, so they were, like, lobbying a lot in England, which also pissed people off because people, like, you're, like, flaunting your wealth and then you're which doesn't
these gauche Americans. It was also interesting when he was writing about how, like, when people went back to London and then the accent had changed. It's like when that kind of posh RP accent starts to develop, and they were still speaking in this really, like, old-fashioned, like, almost like Middle English way. And everyone was like, "You're like a hick."
Well, the accent thing was the other thing I thought in America. That's quite. The accent variation is pretty low. Like, how many accents are there? Like,
I mean, you can tell if someone's from the South and the southern
South
twang.
is definitely,
I mean, he makes the claim that they all come from these different regions of England, and they've got, like, the West Country. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's true.
I think it's sort of like a twang to it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But I thought that having the same, in terms of, like, how can you assimilate new people into the culture, it's like having the same language, which obviously America does, although maybe not so much recently. And also the accent being the same, because in England you have such variation of accents, like, city to city, and it is a differentiating factor. Whereas in America, like, nowadays, you just have this, like, flat American accent, which makes you feel like you're part of one country, makes you feel like you're part of this one culture, with this one language, and I think it is, like, a superpower to have, like, an entire continent that, like, speaks one language.
I like the British variation, though. I mean, I think the thing I liked about this book was that it does emphasize those very specific regional differences, and, like, I mean, it's sort of coming at a moment. I mean, it's slightly after this moment in historiography where you get this push for, like, British history rather than English history, because English history, as it was taught, was very, like, it was just constitutional history. And it was all about the English. And then J.A. Pocock wrote this, like, really influential article about, like calling for a British history that took into account more, like Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and, like, all the different regions and stuff. And then you start getting, like, within social history, you get all these regional studies. Everyone's doing their PhDs on, like, a specific region, like Suffolk or East Anglia or something. I mean, he sort of ignores all of that and says that nobody has done that, but I think that's, he just wasn't talking to the right people. But he is very attentive to those regional differences, and obviously it's most clear with the Appalachian thing, with, like, the different fighting styles. Like, so in these regions they kept the fighting styles from, like, the borders where it was more like biting and gouging and, like, sometimes castrating. It was like all bets are off, like, just just go mental.
No?
Like, and he makes a big point of them being more violent, but it's kind of true. You know, maybe they had the warrior gene. It's still kind of true today. Yeah. I mean, there are like really big differences like that, and like Appalachia being a lot less literate, having like much earlier marriage age, so it's like the earliest in America. Also, the highest rate of like bastardy, premarital was like fine, whereas in like other parts it was like a massive crime. And
Right.
Yeah.
What was that? They're still Protestants, right? It was still like...
yeah, but they're like
But just chill.
Presbyterians.
Okay. Just chill about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like much more like oral culture, no witchcraft executions. Women would like work. They'd always been more involved in like farming and stuff, so that was maintained. No work ethic.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he says where the warrior ethic is strong, the work ethic grows weak.
Real. So true.
Like they didn't really have courts, they didn't really have like the political institutions, they just kind of did their own thing. And he talks about the continuation of like the thane, the political leader who's chosen based on his charisma and his ability to lead, who's sort of kind of elected but kind of rises to the fore automatically because of his natural like leadership talent and his like fighting skills. So it's like that warrior thane. And then he traces that to the number of presidents who come from that founding stock, because like, by far the most presidents were from, like, descended from people from that Appalachian region. So maybe there is something there. I could see that.
Yeah. And
I think he stretches the argument too far, but I think there are some good claims. I don't know how I feel about the biological thing, though. I mean, that is like very old school. It's very like the stuff that German historians were doing before the war and talking about like inherent biological traits and how that shapes culture. And then we really stopped doing that after the war for reasons. So it's kind of wild to like write a book like this.
Your review of a book. It's kind of wild.
But I think I would probably put more emphasis on culture, because I think like his claim that stuff stands still just isn't really, it doesn't really work.
Yeah, but I find that crazy that that's what he argued, because I thought the whole point of the book, from my summaries of it, was that they were fighting it out, was that they were...
No, I mean, he says they're really isolated, and that's like kind of why they're able to develop. But I think that that's more to do with just like the cultural isolation and the fact that you have like less interaction, like because you're geographically much more spread out. So like you form a stronger sense of culture, and also because you've come, like you've left your home and you have all this nostalgia and homesickness, so you have to create a much stronger culture, and you like actively construct that culture to a much greater degree than back in England, where it's much more organic.
Yeah, and you almost have to double down, like, because you leave your country, you cross an entire fucking ocean, it's hard to go back. You have to double down on the idea that you've like settled on. Well, I mean, that was the thing that I was interested in, like my thing about like, did all the good British people leave? But maybe it's like not the good people, but like obviously the crazy people. Because to be a migrant, I think you have to be at least a colonist migrant. Like I think by the time it was like the 1900s and you had a very developed society and you had like the Poles coming over, the Italians, they were like, oh, this is like, especially in New York, they were like, well, this is a developed.
Yeah, because they're lazy.
Well, they're like, let's make some money.
Let's go leech.
Yeah. But there is something like interesting to leave your country, to leave your organic home where your family is, and to double down on an idea so much, double down your faith on your belief so much to settle an entire new continent.
Yeah, and you probably do need like certain psychological traits.
Yeah.
Like probably those people were like more like risk taking,
Right.
and like probably braver.
Like pioneering. And the thing in in the Colin like American Nations book, he talks on the left, the West Coast. He says it was like the melting pot of like the Puritan work ethic mixed with the like individualistic nature of the Appalachians, and you can see that now with all these like companies being built and like in San Francisco, and a sort of like pioneering spirit and very energetic spirit, but it comes from a clash of culture or like a symbiosis of culture rather than isolation. So sorry for making you read 1,000 pages of because sort of weird biological
I feel like to make this kind of claim, you'd have to also look at the Dutch and the Germans and like all of these other influences.
So he doesn't mention them like the Dutch at all?
No.
That was like the most important city. Dutch.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess all the important people were Anglo, like all the presidents, all the founding fathers.
Yeah. And it is an Anglo country, like the settlers
the political culture is Anglo,
it's British, like fundamentally. And the Dutch, I mean, are almost English in some way. Like they have a lot of, although you've had some experience recently. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like America is quite Dutch though, like in its like openness and bluntness. Like in its tolerance and like pluralism.
Capitalism.
Yeah. Also, the people look quite Dutch. I think they look a lot more Dutch than they look British. You know, they're always making fun of us for looking weird.
Yeah.
But if you go to the Netherlands, like they do look much closer to that sort of quite, you know, like a kind of wide face, like straighter hair, like more blonde or mousy.
Yeah, and they are more direct. They are more friendly, but not like polite.
Yeah.
In the way. But I don't know if that's New York, because I think New York had its own
But New England is a bit more like that. I do think his argument probably works more for New England, but that is because of the homogeneity and the fact that they are like super hostile to outside groups and like very like actively protective of their culture. Which is probably why they've been successful. But like the other groups you talk, like the Quakers, and then like in the South, like I don't think that really holds, because they were much more like their culture was moving. It was developing. Like it's not like they stayed fixed in time because of some like quirk of biology. It's because that was part of the culture in New England. Whereas in the South they were doing something new.
Yeah, I can't believe that's his actual like this core argument. The biological.
I thought you'd be into that.
I mean, well, I think the reason I'm into America is, like, and my Anglo husband isn't, is because you can be, when I went there, and from, like, reading very surface level this, and then reading, like, Colin Woodard's book, it felt like you can come and be whoever you want to be, right? Like, that sort of American dream concept.
Yeah.
So to think that it's actually like you have to come in and you have to like mold yourself to an Anglo way of living, I don't think is true. I don't think that's how it is now. Maybe it was all this migration in the 1900s that like kind of, and I think New York is different because it's so based around making money and so based around like just capital, like the power of that. Yeah. And I do think capital won over any other idea, like over like a slave society, over even like Puritanism to an extent. But I think because I'm a migrant here, I feel like when I see America, I feel like I can be a migrant there and it would be a very easy thing for me. Whereas I think if you have an ethnic basis in this country, like, because you're quite anti-American. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't want to live there. I wouldn't want to live somewhere where I don't have roots.
Right.
I do really love America. Like I'd like to go there more for sure. But yeah, I can't imagine like, I don't know. I think also like doing my genetic stuff recently and like realizing that like my ancestors have been in the same place since like the Ice Age.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wouldn't want to break that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got a very like strong sense of like belonging to like a particular landscape as well, which I think is kind of a Welsh like cultural thing, like that hero thing. It's like the the sense of belonging is like very landscape based.
Well, I think that's quite natural in general. I was swimming in a lake in Connecticut, and I'm usually like I'm very into lakes because where I'm from, there's lots of lakes, and even in Britain, there's a lot of like little like ponds and stuff you can get in. So I'm like, naturally I go into a lake, like the smell of it gets me, like the sort of surrounding. But when I was in the lake in Connecticut, it was surrounded by these like giant trees that you don't see really in Europe that much. And I felt quite like, I felt like I shouldn't be there. Like I felt like that it was a land that wasn't mine. And America is, was it like 80% of Indians died? Like there is a weird sort of undercurrent there of like, this is a land that is very foreign to where we're from. Yeah. And if you are like a pioneer, or if you're a migrant there, you have to get over it, and you have to be someone who doesn't really have roots in the same way. When I was reading some stuff on non-places, I was reading about like how people move a lot. Yeah. And in America, it's like people move like 12 times or something, like on an average of 12 times in their lifetime. And I think it is just like this unique place where it's like, I think I used to be very allergic to the idea of it being as a propositional country, because I was like, well, it's very Anglo, it's an English country. Yeah. But reading all this stuff has been like, no, it was from origins a country or a continent where people had very opposing ideas, and they were fighting them out, and they were fighting for the country that they wanted it to be in the end. Yeah. So I think it is actually a propositional sort of idea-based country. And I think it's unique. It's unique in that, like, it's the only country in the world like that.
Yeah, I mean, even Britain until recently, like, people really didn't move that much. Like, you didn't move from different areas.
No, and you didn't have a thing of like, what is our idea of Britain? It's like, no, Britain's where British people. Like, that was what it was.
Yeah. Like, there's a bit in this book where he was talking about people traveling within England, and the fact that, even if they went somewhere within the same county, they would get all these people crowding around them being like, where are you from? Like, what's your country? Because like they just didn't really move.
Well, I read like this Sam Chris article about the Anglo, the kind of the Western European marriage pattern, and then especially in England, about actually that people did move around more than in other European countries, because they moved around more for work. And that's kind of why the institutions were built, like to sort of have a moral, like a mode of conduct for strangers to basically be able to interact with each other.
I think that's true in the South, but like even with like the West Country, like you get some movement with South Wales, and like you get some movement between like North Wales and the sort of like borders up there, and later with like Liverpool and Manchester as well. But like, yeah, in England you do have more movement between, like, especially from like Wiltshire or something to London and that kind of thing. But like, yeah, I mean, you can just go back generation, and it's literally living in the same village. And like, like I grew up in like a terrace that was built for iron workers and miners. Like, one side was for iron workers, one side was for the colliery, and like the colliery, which was like behind the house, like that was where like members of my family had worked like 100 years before, and like died because they blew up the mine by accident because they were like retarded.
Love your family.
we learned about it in primary school, and someone turned to me and they were like, "It's your fault."
Wait, really?
Traumatized me, yeah, because like 112 people died. But like even that, like I was still living in the same village, like.
But how do you feel now? Because you broke that. Like, you live in London, you went to Oxford. Like, you actually did break that chain. Like, would you go? Do you have a thing of wanting to go back?
Yeah, I do. I do, but it was just like it's really boring.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what America was. It was boring here, and people were like, hey.
Yeah.
This whole place is crazy. Let's go there.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of similar instinct to go where the action is.
When I read like the Unabomber manifesto, and he talks about how people move to get to university, and they keep moving. They don't go back to where they're from, and that's the major cause of loss of belonging.
Yeah.
And I really related to that.
Yeah, but then I think of like if I had to go back to a village environment, and sometimes you go to a small British town and people are like really
Yeah, it's awful. It sucks. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And we,
Like, all
we
in your
probably do
business.
have the dregs. Like probably all the best people from those towns left. Because you walk around like a town center and it's just like dysgenic. Like everyone's really ugly.
That's so true. That's like the truest thing. That pissed me off about New York, because I thought I would see like the baddest bitches I'd ever seen in my life when I went to New York. Because in London, especially around where I live, it's like just 10 out of 10. It's like models.
All the hot people go to London.
Actually models. But then I didn't see that many. And then someone told me it's like, because they're all in LA. So it's like, because it's such a big continent, it's like you can have like such differentiation of talents. So like, the smart people go to New York, but then like the hot people will go to LA. Whereas in London, at least, it's like everyone's here. Like everyone has to come here.
Wow.
You know, like we're all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that's where like London is unique, because I think because America's so vast and it has all these different centers of power, you have you have this differentiation that you don't have in Europe. Because in Paris, anyone who wants to do anything will just be in Paris. And that's kind of how you make a hub of things.
Yeah.
A hub of culture, essentially.
So, like, maybe you wouldn't like America if you went to, like, Oklahoma or something.
I mean, I would love to visit. Like, I would be obsessed. Like, I was obsessed with every single thing we saw. Like, a diner. I was like, this is amazing. But I think a lot of it is, like, Weibo. Like, Weibo shit.
Yeah.
And probably I would be very stifled being there. And in Connecticut, there were so many, like, bookshops about queer, you know, like like all that stuff, in this like all white town. It was kind of odd in that way. I do think America also kind of, because of both of these like different cultures fighting it out, and also the fact that they had these different races, I do think they kind of like invented the white person, like as like a white person.
When they do their genes, it's like they all want to be British.
They do, yeah. Or sometimes Irish. Like sometimes people are really proud of being Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they do. It's like as if you think of like cultures of races as like existing in opposition to others. I think in Europe they didn't. It was, you know, you're like a French in opposition to a Spanish person.
Sure.
But then in America, you're just white.
But I think they want to be from somewhere. Like, someone tweeted something this week, I think it was like Spengler Acolyte or something, about his ancestry being like 64% British and how that's more British than lots of people in Britain. But like they think that's really British to be like 65%, whereas like people in Britain are like 100%. Like,
well, because their country's like what, 60% white or something. Like,
yeah,
it's like pretty low.
But I think that's like, it's kind of sad to like. I think you do want to belong to somewhere. You don't want to be just like white.
No.
Like,
that is where we're heading, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But it does make sense if you think of races as existing in opposition to other races. Just kind of how things have been defined. But I think like that's why America's kind of struggling, and like even like listening to Nick on stuff, and he's like arguing for essentially like a Catholic theocracy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think that's very American at all. Like, I don't think that's...
Oh, he's Mexican.
He's not Mexican. He's like an A Mexican.
His name is Fuentes.
Oh my God. Like, some people have a surname with a different surname. But it's like, it's interesting. Again, like, I think speaking to Americans, I think the Americans I've met have been very... for the most part, for various reasons, like upper middle class and very like educated. And they have all said like in America, it's like you can fight out ideas much more.
Ideas are bad.
Ideas are bad.
Like their ideas are just worse. Like they're just not as smart.
Okay, so you think they're not as smart,
like,
which might be true. Which might be because like the people that left weren't like the elites of Europeans, because the elite Europeans would have just stayed, right? And
they have a very different academic culture there. Like, you know, all their universities were religious. Like, they were all founded based on these religious ideas of why learning was important. Like, they don't have the same academic culture as Britain. You know, there's a reason people over there all want to go to like Oxford and Cambridge.
Yeah. But I still think like aren't like Harvard and Yale still like top institutions, and like MIT, and they've like,
but like
their tech is so much stronger. Like they are, they do rule us. I think that's like when people are like, oh, why are you interested in Americans? Like because we're their vassal state. Like they do rule us.
But it's just because they're louder about their culture. Like
no, they rule us because they have all the power, they have all the money, they have everything, they have the culture,
but
they
like
have Hollywood.
like the soft power stuff, like the cultural stuff. It's like their ideas are not better in and of themselves. They're just like a lot better at promoting them because of like how they are. Like, you know, they've given us all our worst ideas.
Well, yeah. But I think some of they are actually, I will say they are very, like reading about like all the pamphleting they did and all the marketing and all the sort of ways they promote their colonies. When I was there's so many signs like to promote like political campaigns. Like it's a very like pamphleting, is that the way? Like culture. Like
yeah.
It's like, it is propositional. It's like, read my thing. And do you like the thing that I wrote? And are you into this idea?
Yeah.
And that's like San Francisco. That's like New York to an extent. Like, I mean, that kind of has its own like capital thing going. But I feel like they are, because they don't have roots, they don't have any basis that's like deeper. They need to actually make their case in a stronger way.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had like political parties and very early.
They did. Yeah. I mean, I feel like they have been, I think whatever happens, I think there was like a Byronic heroine or something, like the Twitter account that she was like, America is the center, and it's like anything good that will happen in the world will come from America, and anything bad that will come from in the world will come from America.
Yeah, but that's just because they're good at PR.
No, they have all the power. They have all the power. Do you, wait. Okay, wait. Do you disagree that they have all the power in the world?
Well, like, what do you mean by power?
Like, both money, both like financially, and also culturally. Like we are,
but they're obsessed with Britain. Like in terms of
we're
soft
obsessed
power.
with them. Like Nigel Farage acts like he does all these like Americanisms.
I mean, you are.
No. Like, come on. Like our political system like tracks with the American political system so closely.
Yeah, because our political system is fucking dead and like uninspired and full of retards.
Yeah,
but like. Our universities don't do that. Like they don't follow academic trends in like American academic trends.
But then what? You come out of the university and you go into like the political world here or the financial world.
Yeah.
And then you're back in America.
Media, we have our own thing.
Yeah. I do think our media is stuck. I was thinking about in terms of comedy. I think the best comedy does come out of America. Even the worst comedy also comes out of America. The worst comedy also comes out of America. But I think like British comedy has been stuck since like the noughties, because especially in comedy you have to take a lot of risks and you have to like push boundaries, and I think we don't do that here.
Yeah.
For a lot of cultural reasons. And in Europe the comedy is just like a slipping on a banana peel.
Do they have comedy in Europe?
Not really. It's like, haha, this political opponent is fat. Like, this man has a moustache and it is very long. And I pull on the moustache. It's like that level.
Yeah, what's comedy like in Eastern Europe?
Oh my god, it's so bad. It's like stupid political, like, yeah, it's literally that level. Like, this man is ugly, haha. He's poor.
Yeah, whenever been at the pub with Russians, they're like that.
Yeah, they're literally like, because they don't have any, again, it's a very Anglo trait of like self-deprecation. They like don't have that. Like basically no other culture in the world has this like trait of self-deprecation or like self-aware humor. But England and then America does, like girls is like the most self-deprecating.
It's pretty funny, yeah.
Yeah, like and it's like biting. Yeah, wait, I need to get a drink.
Okay.
Should we pause?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to just go back and talk about the cultural history part of the book. I think those 4 types of liberty he talks about, like he says that each one of these, you know, founding groups has a different conception of liberty, but I think it works when he's trying to talk about the Puritan stock, and I think that's really the core of the book and like what he wants to argue, and then he sort of has to take into account all these other cultures. But none of the others really have that kind of consistency and like perseverance. And it's like you can't really just talk about a culture as having one conception of liberty. It's like you have to explore the different ideas and the debates, and like within the southern colonies, like there were so many different competing ideas of liberty and republicanism and democracy and class, and it's like all of that just gets skipped over. And yeah, I think it's just like, I think maybe this was like the high point of like cultural history. You know, in America, like cultural anthropology had like a massive impact. And really, to do this kind of thing, if you're going to make claims about political culture, you need to engage with intellectual history, like history of ideas, because it doesn't make sense to claim that there's just like a single idea of liberty that belongs to each community.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the tidewater. The tidewater concept I struggled with the most, because that was like, because I'm an aristocrat, I have a liberty in the sense of that I'm an aristocratic person. But they weren't even aristocrats, were they? They were like,
yeah.
Were they LARPing? Were they not?
I mean, they just developed their own sort of very stratified society.
Yeah.
But,
it's like, how was that to do with liberty? Like,
I mean, it's like they have liberty and other people don't.
good idea.
And yeah, it's like liberty from taxation and like wanting to define their own way of life. Mm-hmm. And because they're like Anglican, or like they don't have the same like emphasis on like micromanaging everyone's behavior.
Right, as opposed to Puritans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like a bit more loose.
Yeah.
They're like shaggers.
Yeah, they were the most fun, I thought.
Yeah.
And then they're just like...
But also that's the culture that's gone. Like, that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's like, how is that attractive to anyone who... Because anyone that's coming to America is a migrant, and most likely they're not doing so hot in their old country, because like, why would they leave if they were doing well? Right? So it's like, you're by the point of what you're doing, like being like, we're an aristocratic stronghold, you're isolating anyone actually coming in, which is why they kind of had to get slaves in, because no one was like coming over, because they couldn't.
But just like economically, they needed it to sustain.
Well, yeah.
The way
Well,
they were
New York
living.
had loads of like migrants, because they were like, yeah, we can make some money.
Yeah.
And then the gold rush on the West Coast, they had like loads of people coming, like hundreds of thousands. But it's like, yeah, Tidewater kind of died, and then Deep South died because it was just a society that isn't attractive to anyone.
Yeah, because like if you're founding a new colony, Puritanism I think succeeded because of the kind of egalitarianism they had, because you can't create a stratified aristocratic society from the ground up. Like, it has to emerge quite slowly.
Yeah, because what's the claim? Like, this is our claim to the land. It's like, no, it's not. This is like...
I guess it's culture. It's like we are like, we have certain values and ways of living that... I mean, that was the whole antebellum South idea that, you know, they were gentlemen. They had this culture of like hospitality and respect and values. But they had to found that on slavery for it to work at all, and not to just be like farmers of the middling sort that they'd been at home. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting to see like what lasted out of those like initial like settlements and what didn't. And it is like, like the Dutch thing lasted, and the Puritans lasted. I think the Quaker sort of free for all, like sort of leave us alone and let us do our thing, kind of lasted in a way, like it developed. But yeah, it is, the culture thing is just so kind of stupid to think that they didn't have any cross contamination, that they didn't have any sort of fighting it out, which sounds like what he argues for.
Yeah.
Which isn't really the case.
Yeah, I mean, around the Constitution, you had so many really intense debates about what kind of country America should be.
But the Appalachians kind of held their own, I think. But considering like how little like institutional power they had, how like angry they were about doing anything like formally.
Yeah.
Like they're still a pretty strong...
Yeah, he says like during the Civil War, some of them fought against both sides.
I love that.
Yeah, they also had a culture of wife abduction, where they would just like steal their wife from like another man, like voluntarily, like if she didn't want to be married to him.
What?
And then it was really controversial everywhere else in America. And all the Appalachians were like, "What? This is just what we do. We just
Did they do that in Scotland?
abduct our wives."
Did they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes way back. It's like a war bride thing.
Okay. Well, it's nice that the wife, in this case, didn't want to be married to her husband.
Yeah,
So
I mean, sometimes it was like rape, but
can we go one episode without talking about rape?
I think it's a bit where he talks about the penalties being like in most of the colonies. There were really harsh penalties for rape. But then in Appalachia, you would get the death penalty for hog stealing. But the rape of an 11-year-old girl is a 1 shilling fine.
That's just the price you pay. Like,
So you can kind of see why people like are kind of down on like the Hicks.
yeah, I mean, and now they're like all addicted to opiates.
Yeah.
And in Scotland, there's a lot of.
But J.D. Vance again, from that region.
Technically, I mean, he moved to fucking.
Come on.
I'm not. He moved when he was young.
He knows about that culture.
Yeah, he really bigs it up. he's
But again, he was tweeting about the Canterbury thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are so many like American leaders who are really obsessed with Britain. Like Trump is like this as well.
Yeah.
Like they are really big on their own British ancestry, and they have like a lot of respect. And it's like when Trump came and had that like state dinner with the king, it's like he was in his element. Like that's what he wants to be.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, as much power and energy as they have, it's like they are a new country and they want to be an old country.
And they are really struggling. Like I think, and I think that's interesting that they're like going back to their British ancestry now, when the country is actually struggling financially. Like it's finally starting to get some kind of competition from different, like China and like Russia and even like the Middle East in some ways. Like, and I wonder how, this like propositional nation, like what actually happens to you when you start losing a lot of this. I mean, mostly financial power, I still think, but it'll be interesting to see what happens to it in like the next couple of 100 years when I'm not around.
And it's interesting because like all the founding fathers were so big on like the Anglo-Saxons, like like Thomas Jefferson tried to get a coin minted that had Hengist and Horsa on the reverse. Like the sort of founders of like the first Anglo-Saxons who came to Britain, Hengist and Horsa, they were like the legendary founders of England.
Okay.
And he was like really into Old English, like medieval stuff, because of that like Norman yoke idea. And they basically saw the British, like this was a big like point of discourse during like the Revolutionary War. It was like they saw the British as the Normans, and they saw themselves as the Anglo-Saxons protecting this like ancient liberty. Whereas now I think they're much more monarchical, and they're looking at Britain for its like recent political history and its monarchy, rather than its like distant, very poor like Anglo-Saxon past.
As in they're like attracted to the monarchy aspect of it? Or
I think like the power.
They do love the monarchy. In a way that I don't know.
But like you saw those like no kings.
Yeah, no kings in America.
Yeah.
Signs that are
in
like
New England.
I didn't like understand, but it's because like Trump wants to be a king or something like that.
Yeah.
That was like I think it's like an anti-Trump thing.
Where is Trump from? What's his ancestry?
He's Scottish. I think he's like Scottish ancestry.
Trump is that a Scottish name?
I don't know. Maybe he changed it from like Muck Trump.
Oh yeah, the Muck Trumps of Dumfries.
The Muck Trump weenie.
A bottle bottle of Buckfast with muck trumps.
The muck trump. Have a muck trumps run for dinner. Yeah. Do we want to do the American citizenship test?
Okay, sure.
Do you want to try?
I know nothing about
Do
America.
you know what? I looked it up the other day, and it's like
This is going to be
the
my
British one is like
humiliation ritual.
This is an interesting thing of like the British one is like all about history and da da da, and this one when I tried it the other day is like all about like the law and the constitution, and which is another thing of like
sick.
okay. Should we do it together? Should we do it together? What are
Okay.
the two parts of the U.S. Congress? The president and the cabinet. Oh my god, I'm so okay. The appellate court and the Supreme Court. The House of Representatives and the Senate.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
that one.
and the Congressional Record and Library of Congress. I don't even know. Okay, the House of Representatives and the Senate. We did it. We did it, Joe. Next question. Who does a U.S. Senator represent? All the people in their congressional district, all the people in their state, all
State.
the people in the U.S. territories.
State.
State. These are very easy questions. Yep.
We could be Americans.
We could be Americans so quick.
I want to be an American.
I want to be... what does the president's cabinet do? I did not know he had a... Okay. Manages the legislative process.
I didn't know you had a cabinet either.
I don't know. Provides advice and counsel to the president. Provides advice and counsel to all branches of the government. Oh my God. Controls the executive branch of government. Do you want me to read them again? Manages the legislative process.
I mean, the president controls the executive branch, right?
Yeah.
Or is he just its head?
He's the executive. Yeah, right. Sure. He controls the executive branch. Surely. Provides advice and counsel to a president. Provides advice and counsel to all branches of the government. I feel like I would put that.
Maybe the second one. Maybe.
Advice and counsel to a president.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that one. What about the legislature? Okay, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Nice. You're on your way. There are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. Identify one of them.
Okay.
The right to vote shall not be denied based on religious belief. The right to vote shall not be denied based on sex. The right to vote shall not be denied based on national origin. The right to vote shall not be denied based on political ideology.
The second one. Yeah, because I think the first one was already in the Constitution, but the second one's the 19th Amendment.
Oh my God, these fucking amendments. I swear to God. Okay, I'll do this one.
Amendments are also really interesting because they have to, like...
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm going to stop. This is really boring.
No, I want to do more. I want to do more.
I just like all the words. I'm like, I don't know.
But like the
what
way
you're
they
talking about.
conceive of the Constitution is really interesting, right? Because they have like this like idea of originalism. So like when the Supreme Court decides whether something is constitutional, some of them, the originalists, for them to say it's constitutional, they have to imagine, they have to decide whether it was in the minds of the people who wrote the Constitution.
Right.
And then there's another school, which I can't remember the name of, which is like how that would be interpreted today.
Interesting.
But they have this like weird idea that like just like as how the Constitution was written, like the like kind of authorial intent behind it is still how everything should be governed. So any amendments have to be like in line with the intentions of the people who wrote it, even though they obviously didn't want women to vote.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a bit religious. It's a bit like the Bible, like how to interpret Bible text.
Yeah.
It's like how.
And now there's like the common law constitutionalism thing, which is like Vermeil and all the like integralists, the Catholic guys.
Oh yeah.
Who are like against both kinds of schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the integralists are interesting. We should get.
They've kind of fallen off.
That idea did not last.
You don't hear so much about them anymore.
No. Haven't heard that name. What is one thing Benjamin Franklin is famous for? Negotiating the Jay Treaty, inventing electricity.
Yeah.
I laughed and then I thought actually that.
Wait, isn't it him with the kite where he gets hit by electricity when he's flying his kite?
I don't know. That sounds like the Isaac Newton gets hit with an apple on his head.
I think it might be him. I think that might be true.
Okay. I done two. I don't know what the Jay Treaty is, but did he negotiate it, or did he invent electricity, or did he participate in the Continental Congress and the Constitutional Convention? This is so boring. Or did he publish the Federalist Papers?
No, that was Alexander Hamilton. I think he invented electricity.
Bro, I can't believe I laughed, and then I was like, actually, I think because he did those bifocal lenses, because I know that from The Office.
I think he was a cool guy. He did a bunch of stuff.
Okay, let's go inventing electricity. Incorrect. He did the boring one, participating in the Continental Congress.
All right.
And the Constitutional Convention. Oh my god,
That's
I'm gonna like,
so
I do
cool.
not. Maybe I don't want to live in America. It's just fucking boring.
I love that stuff.
The British one is so much better. It's like, who was this king? It's like, I don't know. I'm not
They
sure.
made a whole nation.
Identify the U.S. war between the North and the South. War of 1812, the Civil War, French and Indian War, of a Mexican and American war.
Civil War?
They're just letting anyone in at this point. Yeah, correct.
Is this a test you have to do to become American?
Yeah, this is like some of the citizenship tests. During the Cold War, what was the main concern of the United States? The spread of communism, or the spread of fascism, the spread of containment, or the spread of socialism?
Spread of communism.
What's containment?
When you contain things.
Have you read Containment? No, have you? Correct. The spread of communism. Oh my god, look at this one. When do we celebrate Independence Day? That's actually a question.
July 4th?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
yay.
can't believe that. Yay. Okay, that's done. So we finished, and I think we did really well.
I feel like that was too easy.
That's so easy. That was the easiest thing. That's like that one British question that was like, what is the capital of the UK?
Yeah.
But
I'm going to do some more. Who was the first president?
oh my god. Can you have the options, please? Does it not even have the options for you?
Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, or Alexander Hamilton?
Girl,
Bro.
is it the one? Is it your one?
serious?
Is Alexander Hamilton?
No, what? That's the only one that wasn't. Wait, I don't know if Benjamin Franklin was president either.
Wait, Washington.
George Washington.
Washington.
We got to get you to watch Hamilton, man.
I'm fucking
It's
watching that
crazy.
shit. I'm not doing it.
How else are you going to pass the citizenship test? What's one reason colonists came to America? Set up their own monarchy, slavery, communism.
Me when I go to the new continent.
Time to do some slaving.
Slavery.
Can't wait to enslave some people.
I'm not doing enough slavery back in East Anglia. I'm gonna get more slavery done. Stupid.
Yeah, that's just just the Arab.
Shit, what was the What's the third one?
Communism or political liberty.
Wait, what?
Is it political liberty?
This? Oh my god! This is actually the 4 nations. This is the 4 albion seeds. That's actually it. Their own monarchy sideboards at slavery. The South.
Yeah, that's so true. Communism, Quaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then political liberty. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
And I guess, yeah.
Okay, the Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name one of the writers. Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, or James Madison. I know this.
I don't even care about this stuff.
know this.
Go, you do it, because I do not. I don't even want this information in my brain.
James Madison.
Was that one of the songs in Hamilton?
It's mentioned. There were 13 original states. Name 3. Wow. Okay, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nebraska, Kansas, New York, Virginia, Massachusetts, Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana.
It has C, surely.
It's, yeah. Nice. Where is the Statue of Liberty? On the island of Guam.
That would be sick if they did that.
In the Pacific Ocean, on the Mississippi River, or New York Harbor.
Guam.
I don't know where Guam is.
These are bad. I mean, if you can become a citizen based on these
who
questions.
lived in America before the Europeans arrived?
No one of value. Joke. Condemn.
American Indians, Africans, senators, British. I love the implication the British aren't Europeans.
And that senators aren't.
They're just like a different. They're like a race of cryptids.
Yeah, their own
It's
tribe.
like in Yellowstone. They were just in Mount Rushmore, and then they became like manifest. Okay.
Oh my god, the senators. Okay.
What's the name of the national anthem? I don't know this. Pledge of Allegiance, America the Beautiful, the Star Spangled Banner.
That one. No, that's a flag.
Is it not America the Beautiful? No.
That's crazy if that's America.
God bless America.
The Star Spangled Banner.
What is the national anthem?
I actually think it might. Am I dumb? I think it might be the Star Spangled.
It's the one that's really hard to sing, right? And it goes like.
God bless America.
I thought it was like America.
America. I think it might be the Star Spangled Banner. I know that's stupid.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that's right.
they say it in the song.
Do they?
Yeah. It's a really weird anthem.
Yeah.
It's not very...
You can't sing it as a crowd.
Yeah.
It's very individualistic.
It is, yeah. Christina Aguilera has to sing it.
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl.
Name one of the 2 longest rivers in the United States. The Rio Grande? Oh no, you do the Spanish pronunciation.
Rio Grande. The Rio Grande.
I feel like you could definitely just pass as Latina.
Yeah.
You could just like
the whitest Latina that's ever existed.
Some of them are white.
Latinas.
Like the girl with the fish eyes. What's her name? Who was in?
Oh, Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
She's just fucking German, like, because she's Argentinian.
Yeah.
Well, that was the other thing, was that the Spanish empires like mixed a lot with the Indians, because they didn't have many female colonists.
Oh yeah, that was the big difference that he was talking about, because when the British came over, they brought all their wives.
Yeah.
So like in New England, they had 150 men to 100 women, so they didn't have to like intermarry.
Yeah.
With the natives.
But the Spanish were just going at it.
Yeah.
Just going crazy.
Yeah. The hot Latina.
Hey, who among us? Okay, shall we?
Yeah.
Shall we
wrap up?
But in conclusion, would you move to America?
No.
Fair.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't at this point in my life. I'm too old.
Yeah. Also, you have to get your British citizenship.
I guess.
And like stay here to record podcast.
Yeah, we could do an intercontinental. You could be in Wales. I could be in Guam. Japan is very important to the American way of life.
We're gonna get you to Guam.
You're gonna get me to Guam.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Good night.